All right, I'll introduce and we'll get going. Okay, so thanks to everyone that is joining us. I'll give a brief introduction. I'm very excited about today's conversation. Um, you know, when it comes to like spirituality, I think most of us, as you take the path, as all the illusion gets stripped away and it falls away, there's a heightened level of like discernment. And it's really interesting to see because it's like the more that you learn to discern, to feel intuitively into truth, the more you start seeing through, performance or different things. And so the reason why I bring this up is because there's a lot of spirituality content on social media, and it's like sometimes it really drives me nuts because I'm just like, oh my gosh, this isn't truth. It's just like, this is so performative, but people are like, it's what they want to hear, and so they're like super
Mhm.
vibing with it. Your content is absolutely amazing. And like, we are big fans. Like, and so it's so funny because it's like, oh, like celebrities or like professional athletes don't really mean to me what they used to. But now it's like other content creators where I'm like, oh my God, we got to talk to Crystal Dawn. She's so cool. So
Wow.
yeah, we're big fans. Very excited to be talking with you. And more than anything, I just for everyone out there, if you don't know Crystal Dawn, like her content, I can speak to it with my
Mm.
discernment and everything like plugged in, tapped in, like truly a light that is leading and giving that expansive information, not necessarily what people always want to hear, but the truth.
True.
The truth. You're putting truth out there. And so we really appreciate it.
Yes, we're so grateful and so honored to have you here. Thank you so much for
Oh,
being
I'm so honored to be here. I was almost shocked to be asked to be on here, honestly. Not
Oh,
not because I don't believe to like it's needed and I'm worthy to be here. It's more of that this year has been really transformative for me.
yeah,
And so to actually be in a space where to be speaking like this and for the purposes that I've been speaking, it's like, wow, I feel really seen and also really connected to
wow.
the world. And that's different than how I even felt a year ago, thinking that I was connected to the world, but really it hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, and this is honestly what we're going to be diving into is what you've experienced this past year, the difference, and it honestly was like so perfectly timed because
Mhm.
Christine and I we were sitting down like 4 or 5 days ago having a conversation, and we are like, we need to put out a video talking about from like that moment that spirituality went from this like really fun kind of like magical to like clicking in where it's like, okay, where's the embodied action? Like, what are we doing? How do we evolve this? So when you sent your email about what you wanted to talk about, it was like, oh my God, same wavelength. Like, let's dive into it. So yeah, we'd love to hear about your experiences.
Yes. Okay. So just this year in general, if you go back into my content on social media, you will see the dramatic shift taking place just in this year. Huge. Like you wouldn't even recognize the same content. You'd be like, this is the same person. Um, just to give a little bit of a background, I grew up very ingrained, born into a Christian family in the Midwest, only around white people all the time, white Christians all the time. And in a private Christian school, my dad was the pastor in the church. Then I was homeschooled, but still in a system that was educated based on Christian learning. So everything was I was in a bubble. I was in a very small little bubble. I really had no idea what the whole world was. And but also simultaneously being told things like everybody else is wrong. You're the chosen one. You're the ones that you're in the know. You're the ones that are better than everybody else.
Totally.
And so I think just even actually, I was reflecting on this last night. I was looking out my window, I was sitting at my desk, and I had this epiphany moment. If I can wake up and fall in love with humanity and recognize the truth and see the truth and connect to my own inner knowing, my own inner compass, and recognize what's going on in the world, there's hope for everybody. Like if I can do it, I know we're all waking up. Like there's proof, there's hope. So yeah, I just wanted to start with that.
Oh no, it's so true. If I can say, there's another really cool person that I follow, Sarah Hadir. and
Mhm.
she posts awesome things. But on one video, when I talked about my experience coming out of like really, really strict Mormon family, she was just
Mhm.
basically like, anybody that can just come from like that background. Because the thing is, the two biggest energetic parasites that impact people are the judge and the victim, right? Where
Oh
it's like,
yeah. Mhm.
eat those parasites. And it's like,
Yep.
those systems are so built where it's like, you are the chosen one. Anything that the world does to you, it's because they're evil and they're
Mhm.
attacking you because you are one of God's chosen. So it's like all the bad things, it's like, it's because I'm chosen. All the good things, it's like, it's because I'm chosen. And so, like, it's such a strong kind of like cage that is so hard to come out of. So it's like, it's totally true where you're like, if I can escape that programming and that mindset, you're like, anyone can. And so I
Mhm.
totally agree.
Yeah. And what I've actually noticed this year is going back to even reflecting on the last 5 years of my awakening of everything that I've progressed through. I'm like, whoa, I'm also recognizing so much of that same narrative within the spiritual community,
Yeah.
this chosen one or this separation. And then you have to go, oh, ick. Like I I fed that in places. I fed that too because I that there was a part of me that still felt that comfort in that narrative of feeling like, oh, I know something other people don't know. And cut to this year. So if you go back in any of my content, you will see that like I have really been evolving. I've been connecting to um my roots. I had to go searching to figure out my own ancestry because it's been so long since it's been. I mean, I remember growing up asking my family, like, where are we from? Like, what's our ancestry? What's our lineage? And nobody, some of my great grandparents, people would just say, we don't even know what they were. And so I had to go searching myself, and that did mean using one of the companies that does that. But then once I found out where I was from, not 100%, but like the majority, it was eye-opening to me to find that I've already been naturally drawn to a lot of those same practices that used to be used before that area was colonized. And I was like, my blood knows. It was just such an amazing I feel like it keeps happening too. It goes back. I feel like one thing that I did also recognize that I was doing is cultural appropriation. Like I didn't understand based on the background that I had. I didn't understand what I was doing. I felt the wholesomeness in it. I felt the magic in it. I felt the connection in it, especially being from the United States. I definitely understood and felt that connection to Earth,
Mhm.
but it wasn't mine. The way that I was connecting, the way that I was feeling into it, it wasn't from my lineage. And I'm not saying that it wasn't powerful. Of course it was, but there's a deeper connection that is made with your body and the earth when you actually go back to your roots. And that was massive. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. Um, so that's been like the last 5 years of my life, finding trust in myself, recognizing the power of my own body, the connection to the earth, connecting to the trees, everything around me. It has been a mind-blowing experience. But what I noticed this year is that I think I got to the point where I started to spiritually bypass reality, and it brought because the narrative in some of the spiritual spaces is very much rise above it. Just raise your frequency. Just you're gonna time hop. You're gonna end up in the new earth and all these narratives that is what you want to hear. It is what you want to hear. You want to hear you're gonna be saved and you're gonna be on the other side. And there's this promise of, being saved from what is going on on earth right now. But something happened this year. Specifically, it started at the end of March. I was sitting in my basement and I heard this noise and I looked up into the corner and there were two snakes coming out of the wall, side by side,
Oh my gosh.
twin snakes coming out of the wall. And I froze. I just stared at that for the longest time. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I didn't have anybody else here. I called my husband was up north. I called two neighbors and I'm like, somebody help me with these. No, everybody's like, nope, I can't do this. So, and I don't want to, I did not want to kill them. I very much am like, I love nature. I don't want to kill anything. I respect snakes, the representation, the symbolism, everything. I've just gone so deep into it. I knew there was a message behind it, but first I had to get these snakes out of my house. So I figured out how to get them out safely, and then it just kept happening. Over the course of 6 weeks, I found 8 snakes in my basement. And in that 6 weeks, oh, it was a process of my nervous system was constantly on, but at the same time, it was expanding. It was growing to a level of I was able to hold more because I still had the life through it all.
And this is March.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is so interesting. I feel
Going
like
the same thing.
we have like in
Stop.
days or March where it's like massive expansions, where it's like
Heart.
learning how to hold more, and it's just like, oh my gosh, is this real? So yeah, it's
Hmm.
such interesting timing.
That's so wild.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Of course. And through the whole 6 weeks, I'm like, I'm doing my own investigate. I'm diving into the symbolism. I'm looking into ancient cultures. I'm looking how does this tie to my culture? Things like that, because I know that mother's always talking to us. Always. The animal kingdom is constantly sending us messages. We're all connected. We just have different languages. We just have a different way of communicating. And so we have to use our bodies to do that. And throughout that course of 6 weeks, I eventually ended up after the eighth snake, after I removed the eighth snake, by that time I'm touching it, I'm talking to it, I'm sitting with it as it because I'm realizing these snakes have been in my walls because they weren't that long. They were only this big. And these snakes have been in my walls probably all winter long, have never touched their bellies to earth. They've been in the wall. They were born in there.
Oh,
And I know it brings up like a different level of like honoring the fact that returning them to their rightful place of their wild. They've never felt the sun on their skin. And to me, that was a representation of also me coming back home. It was like my energy saying, Crystal, you're here.
yeah.
Stop floating above your life. You are here and there is work to be done here. I know you love floating up into all the other realms and figuring out all of these other things and it's fun and but there's a time and a place and it's time to ground. It's time to be here now. You have work to do. And I found my voice within those 6 weeks. It was like the things that I had been researching the entire 5 years of really deconstructing without even knowing I was deconstructing all of these realizations that I've had in even my whole life, it was like I finally had the ability to communicate it. And I started to speak up in relationships that I felt like were really out of balance. And I also was, there's a bald eagle flying over
Oh
right
my gosh.
Ah,
Wow.
wow.
That's so cool.
now. I also was able to hold what I was seeing being shown on social media. I was able not bypass it and think that's too much. I can't see that.
Uh,
It was it was like coming back into my body. I mean, like I have compassion for my own humanity, and I fell back in love with humanity, and I recognize that there's a lot of work to do here, and there's so much to say with when you go through an expansion like that of your nervous system having to hold a whole lot. So for anybody going through a whole lot right now, just recognize it as growth because the more that you can hold, it,
yeah.
it
It's
benefits everybody around you.
well, and it's life is going to give you um challenges and experiences that
Hmm.
are going to be uncomfortable. And
Hmm.
issue is in the society that we live in, we look to numb our discomfort, right? Because
Yes.
we don't want to feel it. We don't want to feel the pain or whatever it is. But the problem is the discomfort, the pain, all of those are teachers and indicators that are pushing you into alignment, right? Because discomfort is like an invitation where it's like, where can I expand? You're just brushing up against like your walls of how much you can
Yeah.
hold.
Mhm. And it
And
feels like a breaking apart, but it is an
it's an expansion.
expansion.
Totally. And
Absolutely.
so it's one of those things. It's so interesting because like I'll sit down with like some of my coaching calls with people, and they're just like, I feel like I'm doing such a bad job because this is what I'm experiencing and I'm experiencing this and this. And it's like, no, you're doing it. You're
Mhm.
doing it. And it's like you're having the courage to like feel those feelings and be in those feelings and be like, what is this showing me? And you're not numbing. And it's interesting because I feel like what you were speaking to earlier with the bypassing.
Mhm.
So it's like reality is a mirror and our experience of reality is a reflection. And so it's very easy, for example, to for like someone, let's say you support the Democrats, right? And it's very easy to point out the hypocrisy within the Republicans.
Mhm.
Republicans, it's very easy to point out the hypocrisy within the Democrats. And it's like, hey,
Yep.
guess what, guys? Both are hypocrites. It's like you're a reflection of each other. Like it's a reflection. And so it's the same thing where it's like people can look at Christians and they can just be like, oh, they do their bypassing, they do this. And it's like, this exists within every system, within every category without fail, because of course it's going to present differently because you might have, like the different way that you bypass, but it exists everywhere. And that if you pull it down to like the baseline, why do people do this? It always comes down to escape, either escaping
Mhm.
feelings, escaping being human, right? Like the amount of people that are so pulled by this, like being from a different star system, escaping this earth, right? Ascending to 5D, this split. And it's all because it's like, this is too painful right now.
Yes.
What is going to save me? What's going to take me somewhere else? And the thing is, the expansion that we're going through right now, it's not a crown chakra expansion. It's not a root expansion. It's literally a heart expansion, right? And
Mhm.
the heart, it's like it is right in the middle. This is the connection between past and future. This is like when you look at the tree of life, it's like you got the branches extending into the air and the roots in the ground. And it's like, and we are that trunk. We are in the middle, right? And so it's like, it's being here. It's being now. It's not outsourcing. Okay, how do we, it's like, I want to escape to this new earth. I want to go into heaven. It's like, we can make heaven right here.
Yeah.
It is going to take a little bit of effort. And it's like, you need to like step into it. And it's like, but do we even realize how beautiful this plane can be? Like the
Mhm.
party that it could be, just the love and the gratitude that we could experience every day. We are on a planet that gives you everything you need. Like if you live with the earth, the mother gives you everything you need,
Absolutely.
like everything. And
Mhm.
somehow, because we've become so disconnected, we've forgotten the magic of this plane. And I think that's the issue with like the spiritual bypassing is it's like a paradox, or I guess the better word is like it's ironic because everyone's searching for magic somewhere else. And it's like you're missing the magic right here.
Yep.
It's like,
It's
guys,
here.
there's so much magic. And so, yeah, it's so fascinating.
I love that concept because it's almost like a microcosm of the macro. When you
Totally.
think of even the shift that we're seeing too within a lot of us, this authority first being outside of you, and then the process of bringing the authority back inside and trusting yourself and being led from within, and then the aspect of that it also happens right here too. It in you versus the external world and realizing we are all a part of the same makeup. Like it's all a part, and but we're so divided, and as long as we're divided, there are certain people at the top that really benefit from us
Yeah.
fighting each other. And even going back throughout ancient history, I actually just did a ton of research on essentially what happened to the original like 30,000 years ago when when the people recognized the goddess, when the people worshiped the goddess, worshiped, that's the word we have for it now, but essentially we honored the goddess and what gave life. And what happened in the cultures that ended up beginning to like actually overturn, conquer, whatever the word you want to say, is because like they were the ones in survival mode. They were the ones that, you know, the land they were living became unlivable. And so they were separated from their source.
It's
And
so
instead of just like going and finding another connection to the earth, they took it. And that's essentially what's been the cycle that's been repeating over and
exactly.
over and over and over.
Well, and it's so interesting because that's, I've tried to like give people examples because it's just like everything that we experience, everything we see, it's all a manifestation of something that is energy, that's
Hmm.
invisible. And so like for example, what you're saying with like colonization and these
Hmm.
different things, it's like you look at the people that were brutalized, and the vast majority were very matriarchal, very communal focused, right? Like society focused, like the collective and different things. And the colonizers were that truly it was the unhealed masculine, where it's like, let me come in, let me control, let me dominate, let me
Yep.
take, right? And do all these things. And it's like what we were seeing through colonization is simply the energy of the unhealed masculine that has been overbearing to the feminine, that has been controlling, like suppressing, right? Dominating. And it's like it's the same thing we all go
Hmm.
through on a personal level, where it's like
Hmm.
healing that masculine and feminine within yourself, bringing it into, herogamy. But like you were saying, it's the microcosm is the macrocosm. It's the
Hmm.
same thing when people talk about manifestation and healing yourself. And it's like, okay, you need to move with that energy, right? If there's a future version of you, it's like you need to move as if you're already it. You need to embody that energy. You need to
Embody
experience
it.
it. And it's like, okay, that's true on an individual level. It's the same thing where it's like you can, and to do that, right, you have to recognize that I'm perfectly imperfect. And it's because it's like perfection is a myth. I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be right now. I'm having the experience I'm meant to have, all that. The same thing goes with this plane at a macro level. It is perfectly imperfect. And so it's like we have to move with the energy of creating this new earth, right? That people are talking about. And it's like, but it's doing it right here. It's
Hmm.
recognizing that everything is happening for a reason. It's simply reflecting to us the energy that we embody. We need to stop playing these games of all of the good is in me, all of the bad is outside of me. It's all the bad people that are making this happen. It's like, no, this is a collective thing. We are all here to share our medicine. But yeah, it's so fascinating. What you were saying about connecting to your roots, I don't know,
Hmm.
but if you know, but Christine wrote a book called Remember Your Roots. And it's
Hmm.
all about that. It's all about how people have been so distorted from their roots, and that connection to that medicine is what is really going to allow you to tap into what your personal strengths are, the powers are, your spiritual gifts.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like, right, when we remember our roots, we can like follow the thread. We understand we have a unique blueprint, that we come from this specific lineage that holds both wounds and also wisdom. There's so much there. And if we can't bypass, we don't look at the wounds, and we can't bring back that wisdom and that magic. We can't reclaim it for ourselves. We have to look at both. We have to extend love to all parts of ourselves, the light and the shadows within us, right? Within the lineage, within those ancestors that carried all of that trauma, and then also all of that wisdom. It's like we need to extend love to all of it.
Hmm.
It's so important once we understand that and where we come from and our unique makeup, then we better understand and love ourselves. And then we trace the roots back to recognize, oh, we're interconnected to everything. We're actually all kin. We're all sisters. We're all brothers. And it's like beautiful to understand, oh, we have diversity. Diversity is beautiful. If we were all the same, it'd be so boring. And we actually have more similarities than differences as well. So it's like this, yeah, very interesting thing to see all the nuances. But then we better understand that we are connected, so then we can understand we get to take care of each other. We have a responsibility to
Yes.
love each other and take care of each other, which leads me to ask you, what are your roots? I would love to know what your roots are.
Yeah, I'm kind of from all over, more of the northwestern European, but mainly from Germany. So there there's also, I also just actually, before my grandmother passed in January, she told me that her father was from Scotland. So I also figured that out as well. I'm like, you're just telling me this. So
Wow. Yeah.
I'm like, I've asked this so many times, I feel like nobody ever really knows. No, it's one of those things where when you grow up in Christian culture, it really is a culture, but I mean it's a cult, but it's a culture, and but it's so disconnected. It's very much like in here. It's very much in here. You're told to, if you think about it, men growing up in that system are told to constantly be in their heads, no emotions, shut off from your emotions. And if you're a woman, it's your body is shamed. So obviously, like, you're the problem. And so for me personally, when I actually had proof that there is a lineage that I came from that was at one point connected to the earth, and I could trace that back,
Mhm.
and I could recognize that, like, they're the ones coming through me right now. They're the ones speaking to me through when I connect to one specific tree. It's like I can feel them sometimes. And it it's undeniable that a lot of us, I think, are waking up to that it's coming through our bodies, that we're remembering. There's definitely this movement in reclaiming terms like witch and things like that, because it has been demonized. It's been used to control us for a long time as women. And so for me, being from more of that European background and having the history of the witch trials be something that is in my bloodline, that's something that I'm like, wow, no wonder I've been so called to reclaim that term for myself in a way that feels like I get to decide. That's me, and this is why. Um, it does break my heart that a lot of people who are still within the system, um, hopefully will someday get to experience that same feeling of coming home to themselves.
Yeah.
And that kind of compassion helps me understand when I do get backlash for what I put out into the world. I can feel it, that feeling of like, I hope you heal so hard that you fall in love with humanity again, because that's what this is. It's that heavy judgment on themselves, and it separates us. It's heartbreaking to see people still stuck in that ideology of separation, and thinking actually that it's them being on the right path.
Yeah. Yeah. We're having like the,
Can I
oh, yeah,
interrupt you
please,
for a
please.
second? Can we pause this so we can move out of the sun?
Oh,
We just didn't think this lighting through or this area, and it's like right on my forehead. Um, oh yeah, that's better.
okay.
Okay. I'm like, we love the sun, but
Yeah.
not directly while we're sitting.
Yeah,
Um,
we don't want a headache later.
it's so fascinating what you were saying because yeah, I was just like, oh my God, she's so right. And what was like kind of coming through for me was it's these systems that are inverted, right? Where it's like it truly is like anything for example, for the feminine, anything that is going to tap you into your power and your magic has been
Mhm.
distorted and demonized so that you
Yep.
don't do it, right? Like it's
Yep.
like anything they told you was bad, it's like that's actually probably going to
Yep.
be a path to really connect.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because it's like these systems that are truly built on disconnection, like that's what people experience is that
Mhm.
massive like disconnection, searching for more or like needing more. But the issue is the system gives them where it's like, here's what you need to chase to get to fill the hole. And so they're
Mhm.
chasing the things that keep creating even more disconnection. And so, it's like by the nature of this beast, it's always just going to be this cycle where it's like, I feel disconnected. There's going to be that self judgment. There's going to be that self loathing, which is why most people judge and loathe things outside of them because
Mhm.
it's just a reflection of pieces of them that they reject, right? And so it's like it's easier to see it outside of them than inside. And it's so fascinating because like you were saying with the whole like the term about witches, it's like you go read back about these witches and it's like they were women landowners, they were
Mhm.
business owners, they were people who are connected to the earth, connected to that magic, they were
Yep.
healers, they
Mhm.
were freaking healers that went around and were helping people, and
Yep.
then some men got jealous, brand them as a witch, right? And
Yep.
it's so crazy how distorted everything has been and like flipped on its head. But also, what a time to be alive, where it's like, it's just like those distortions that at one time worked. It's like, no, this isn't what it
Not
is.
working anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The Have you heard of the Malleus Maleficarum? It was like the hammer of the witches. So
No.
it was actually, when it went to print in the printing press, it was actually second to the Bible of how widespread it was. And it was essentially how to identify a witch, how to turn them in. There was also men who were accused of witchcraft.
Yeah.
And then also how to torture them to get the truth, and then what happens after. And that book specifically was written by an inquisitor. He was from Europe, I believe, and then he came, he was throughout Europe, and then obviously coming to the States eventually. It wasn't him specifically that came to the States, but he he was spreading his like hammer and brimstone, his fear and everything. He was one of those missionaries. And he came to a place where there was a very pop what's the word? Very very high level family, and the woman in the family uh refused to sit in any of his sermons. She basically called him out in front of everybody, said like, no, like absolutely not. What you're preaching is wrong. And he accused her of a witch. He accused her of being a witch. But then because she was so well known and honored within that village, um, the actual church officials there said, absolutely not. You're not accusing her of this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so he turned around and wrote that book.
Oh my God.
And that book ended up everywhere. And that, so it's because a man trying to come to a town and preach fear
Yeah.
was stood up to, and a woman didn't submit or, cradle his ego. He turns around and writes a book that then basically demonizes women and causes
All of that chaos. Yeah, yeah.
the
It's
witch hunts.
yeah, it's like the same with the dude who created all the rapture ideology, how
Uh-huh.
it was like 100 years, where it's just like this dude has had such a negative impact on the world through this
Yeah.
ideology that they put,
Yes.
where it's just like, oh my gosh, it's always just one person who is
The
like,
Left Behind series, like I laid awake at night for years, terrified that I was like either gonna wake up and my family would have been taken,
yeah,
or like I was the only one taken and my family left, or like something about separating me from my family. I was like, oh my God. And I always wanted to talk to my dad because my dad was a pastor. I'm like, Dad, when is it gonna happen? Like, when is Jesus coming back? And are we all gonna be here at the same time? And how do we know when it's gonna happen? It ran my life. I lived in fear because of that.
yeah.
And so many people, even just talking about it, so many people have said me too. And when you live in fear, when you live in that survival mode, that separates you right there.
Well, and I think that's why it's so amazing, like the journey that you've been on, because I think the other side of it with the super super Christian kind of like fundamentals, it was the same with
Hmm.
me, where it's like that fear of Satan and the brain,
Hmm.
anything that you don't understand is satanic,
Yep.
is so terrifying. Because for me, when I was deconstructing, it was just like, oh my God, am I being deceived right now? Like, am I being tricked? Right? Because that's, and so it's
Yeah.
like this perfect system to put you in a box to make you afraid to ever leave that prison cell that you are in, because it's just like leaving. And so you have to like stay stuck. But it's just amazing because it's like everything that you've been doing, like walking this path. And there is one thing I want to say for anybody listening to this. So number one, our life experience is an experience. There is no end destination. Perfection is a myth. So there's no end place to go to. Like the universe is infinitely expanding, and so are you. And so for a lot of people, when they first start their kind of like spiritual journey, they go into like a love and light phase, where it's
Hmm.
just like, let's exist in the love and light. Let's only give the attention to the light. Like, let's tap into the magic. And it's like, that is a beautiful stage. It's a necessary stage. Like, yes, those that have like expanded past that, like we can look back at it, right? And we can be like, oh, okay, so this is where it's bypassing. Here's
Hmm.
where it's like not
That's
the
the
full
first.
truth.
You have to do that.
Yeah,
It's like why
it's
else
like
are you
a
gonna go
preparation.
into it? It's
Yeah.
like, well,
Yeah.
that's how you get attracted to it because it's beautiful and fun and
Well, and I think it also creates a little bit of like rest for you, where it's like you can exist in that magic and you can exist in the beauty and like the love.
but then
Um,
people get stuck in it, and that's
that's
where
the
the
thing.
issue is.
Yep.
Or they treat it like the destination, where
Or
it's
they
like,
get
I figured it
scared,
out.
and then
Yeah.
they revert back
Mhm.
actually and go even harder
Yeah.
into discipleship or dogmatic practices.
Totally.
That
Totally.
happens too.
And
Yes.
I think that's like the biggest thing is for me, and I'm really, really curious for you, what you would say was kind of like what allowed you to shift over. Because, you know, for me, like I can look at when I was like in my love and light and like really learning how to express, like that was like a huge thing for me, was like learning to not be a pushover, learn to authentically express, not needing to control people's emotions and just be like, I just got to be me. Um, and what's interesting is as I was like learning to like hold boundaries and express authentically, I was just like, I'm not going to sugarcoat things. And it's like, I'm just going to say it how it is. And then as I
Yes.
expanded past that, though, I looked back and I was like, oh, you know what? There was a lot of spiritual intelligence behind that, but I was lacking emotional intelligence because I'm like, I was kind of cruel with how I would say things or just
Mm.
putting it out there. Right. And so for me, I feel like what took me out of love and light and what has continued the expansion is almost like this energy or a mindset always where it's just like, where can I expand further? Where am I not fully understanding this? Right. Because I would say that like I've successfully kind of like deprogrammed from this like mindset because I think a lot of people get caught up in the performance because they want to be seen as good and they want to be seen as like smart or as
Hmm.
knowing or having it figured out.
Oh,
And
totally.
it's like once you get rid of this, like people needing to be seen a certain way, you're just kind of like, oh, I'm not smart. Like I'm still figuring it out. So where am I figuring it out? Where do I need to own it? You know, and I think it's so cool what you were saying with your content, where you're like, there's been this massive evolution. And I'm like, yeah, all of the best teachers out there, you will see the evolution that's going on because it is a real like reflection showing where it's like these people are expanding, these people are evolving, like they're sharing like how they're evolving, right? And anyone that you're watching that it's like it's just the same thing over and over and over, it's like that's also an indication of like being stuck, right? Because it's like there's always more, there's always more. We don't need to be afraid of more, which is why we don't need to be afraid of being perceived as perfect. But
Hmm.
what would you say was the thing that like for anybody listening who struggles with kind of like embodiment, you know, or they experience that like fear or even just the paralysis of like, well, what can I do to change things? You know, like
Ooh.
how do I even make an impact? Like what is it for you that's allowed you to kind of like shift over into like more embodied and like empowered practices?
I this really did happen when the snakes were in my basement because it brought me to my edges of discomfort and to the point of where I couldn't hold performance anymore. I couldn't pretend anything. And the rage that was coming through me just it was as if I had tapped into something deeper inside of me that all of a sudden I could feel this anger coming out and I couldn't hold it back. But I didn't obviously like I'm consciously aware that I don't want to hurt people. So how can I use this fire, this passion, this this feeling of like something has to change and how can I use it like in a constructive way that isn't hurting people, but I need to channel it. It needs to come out. And that's when I found ways of communicating what I felt and things that I would find almost like a can you believe this shit? Like can you believe this? Because when you come out of a system where you live in a bubble and you recognize how vast and beautiful the world is. And you also then go back and you start asking questions like, but why were we disconnected from this? Why did this happen to us? How did this happen to us? And then when you find the answers, you get really upset. It's really, really upsetting. And you recognize too, like where your lineage took part in it. And there's a part in of me inside that feels like we have a lot of fucking work to do now. We destroyed a lot, and there's a lot of work to do. And there's also a sense of accountability that needs to be taken. There's responsibility also in those of us who are in places of being more comfortable in life right now, and we're safer than other people are. And so if anything, I think that my love for humanity now, my love for this earth, I just decided like I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be here. and let's do it, because it was a feeling. It was an emotion. It was too big to hold for myself. I had to get it out, but I wanted to get it out in a constructive way. And it wasn't with an agenda. It was more like all of a sudden people were resonating with it, and it helped me keep going, hearing that I put words to something other people were feeling, and I recognized, whoa, I'm somebody's reflection on Instagram, out in the world, um, any platforms, your voice, what you do, how you live, how you express, the people you come in contact, you are a reflection of something inside of them. So what do you want to reflect?
Right.
And for me, that's truth, liberation, freedom, sovereignty, spiritual sovereignty. That's most important to me. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you totally did.
That's
Okay.
Yeah.
it's such a good example of like the simplest things are the most profound things. The fact that the snake spoke to you, and also how nature is our teacher, right? Our
Mhm.
ancestors learned from nature, and you
Yeah.
too were reflected by the snakes, and then that reminded you of this thing. And that's so, so profound. I'd love to hear from you about your experience with the trees, because you mentioned them, and I think that's also one of those simple things, but a really profound experience if you are coming to the trees intentionally. So if you would just share a little bit more.
Yes. There's such a difference. Like say you go outside and you're walking, because we have a little chunk of woods on the land we live on, and I love to go for walks, especially with my dog. But there's a difference between like, oh, I'm going for a walk and I'm going to listen to a podcast, or I'm going to listen to music or something like that. There's a difference between that and when you really disconnect from any outside noise, and you recognize that this is actually inhabited. This
Mhm.
is a space where there's life. And if you, I think I saw it from Leah Live Free, as her handle. She at one point a couple years ago mentioned how before she enters into a space in nature, she asks it permission, or she introduces herself. And that really, like, that stuck with me. And so something that I have done now for a long time is anytime I actually go on a walk is I don't put any external noise in my ears or in my brain. And I ask permission. There's like these two trees that are like this threshold, and I ask permission and I touch. And when you slow down and y- you recognize that you're not the only one here, even though you might be the only human here, you're not the only living being here in this space right now. And so I started to feel like almost like it would open up more, and you'd experience every time I would go into the woods more, I would experience more connection with it. Like every time I ask now if I can go in, I hear a bird
That's
every single time. And so it's like talking back to me like, yeah, welcome, how are you? And then specifically after my grandmother passed away this year, there's one tree that I now call grandmother oak, and I've sat under her so many times, and she healed me in some way when I was experiencing that loss of like the matriarch of our family. And it it connected me to something that I feel has been in our lineage. The fact that she's an oak tree, I actually like looked throughout, like where oaks are, and they are where I used to like, or where our lineage, our bloodline is from, and it makes you recognize that, whoa, we aren't the only ones who have migrated. Like
uh,
there's connection in this wood, in this space. And when she wants her space, like usually she'll grow vines around her, so I'll just give her space. And um the way that nature communicates is a feeling. I've definitely recognized that it's a feeling, and then you're the one that tries to put words to it. But that in itself is your connection too, because sometimes that's how we, I mean, that's how I know how to communicate is by words. And so I try to have a conversation with trees in a way that I feel like I'm able to put words to it. There's also other trees that I feel like are sleeping sometimes. You can feel like there's sleep. And so I'm not really sure how that really works truly.
So
it's just something that I can't deny I feel. So I think a lot of people um should do it more because it's powerful.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
I was just gonna say it's so fascinating because you have people who have had near-death experiences, or people that have psychedelic experiences, or meditative mystical experiences.
Hmm.
And oftentimes they always talk about communicating with something, and they're like, but it wasn't with words. They're like, it was a feeling, it
Yeah.
was like this knowing. And the cool thing is, like, I feel like sometimes we act as if that's like outside of us, or
Hmm.
once you die, it's like you remember to communicate like this. And it's like, no, it's like it's going into the discomfort of the stillness. And it's
Hmm.
like a muscle. It's like you can communicate in that way. And it's learning to
Mhm.
open back up to your heart, where it's like, what do things feel like? And then what does it mean? And of course, our rational minds are going to attach like words to it, right? To be like, here's what this is. But it's like it's learning a language like anything else. But like you were saying, the issue is in the society that we live in, um, it's like we need a podcast to listen to, we need music to listen to,
Yeah.
like we need to keep our minds going, right?
It's the
Like
dopamine hits.
it's the dopamine hits, it's the I need to doom scroll, right? Because it's like I need to numb, I don't want to like feel. But truly it's like the way that I look at it is people need to feel. And when you first tap into feeling, it's going to be really painful, and it's going to,
Yes.
because there's a lot to feel, right? And it's kind of like, but it's like over here we're numbing. You need to go through healing, which is going to be very uncomfortable because it's going to be so new. Or there's going to be that, like you were saying, the rage that you need to feel, where you're just like, why do I feel so much rage? Or it's going to be pain or different things like that. Christine taught me how to feel, which sounds like the dumbest thing to say, but it's like I was like incapable of like feeling. And she was like, no, you need to let these emotions come up, right?
Yep.
But it's like once you pass through that, then the next section is alchemy, what people teach you, right? Where it's like, okay, so what do we do with these feelings? All of them are energy, which is your magic. Like it's all your energy. Every one of your feelings, that's your power. So it's like, how do I take this raw energy that's there? How do I alchemize it into something more powerful, right? And what you're saying, where it's like you learn to like communicate, you learn to drop into the heart, you learn to now
Yeah.
tap, because you're tapped into your feelings, you can start communicating through it, where it's like, what am I experiencing? Okay, so what is this telling me? But it's like you don't get to the magic without going through learning how to feel.
Mhm.
And
Hmm.
what most people that are in the love and light, that are in the bypassing, what it comes down to is it's like they're not ready to feel yet.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Because it's like when you can truly look at what is happening in the world with awareness, right? Like, it's sometimes like I'll post some things and people are like, we weren't meant to see this, or you don't want to put your negative energy, or they're just like, you're getting too fired up about this. And I'm like, the fact that you're not experiencing emotion when you see some of this, I'm like, that should be telling you something, right?
Yeah.
And so I
Hmm.
think what people need to just really realize, where it's like, you're amazing, you are doing an amazing job, you are exactly where you're supposed to be, you are safe to start feeling, it is
Hmm.
all going to be okay. We know that it hurts and
I
it
know.
sucks, but that's why we have community, so that we can all kind of like be in that pain together. But
Yeah.
And you're not alone. You're
you're
not
never
alone
Hmm.
alone.
that you're doing as well. Like you are part of this great web of life, right? And you're like a thread on the web.
That's
And you need to know,
what you always say with the body.
yeah, it's not just about being in your, it's not just about this body, it's about the body within the great body, right? You are part of so much more than you see within the unseen and magic, so to say. But that means you are also connected to the ancestors, and they are there to also support you, right, in the work that you are doing to heal yourself. So there are wise and well and ancient ancestors, medicine people, healers within the lineage that are there to also support you. So the work you're doing, you don't have to do it alone. And it is
Hmm.
just simple, like we're speaking to connecting with the trees. Those are also ancestors too. We can
Yes.
connect to the elementals,
Mhm.
especially to the earth. And be in communion and connection with them. And that takes being in reciprocity. Like you walk into the forest and you ask for permission. How about offering an offering, give something. The most beautiful offering you can ever give is from your voice, a song.
Mm-hmm.
Just give them a song because it's coming from you. And then come into the forest in this beautiful way of reciprocity and yeah, in communion with nature, because it's a part of you as well. And yeah, this is just the most beautiful way to go.
That's so true.
Yeah,
I, oh, that's just it's making me, my heart expand just talking about this because what I do in the woods is if you sit on the earth, like actually sit on the earth, I wholeheartedly believe that if you sit there long enough, you will cry
Mhm.
because there is a feeling that will click at some point and you will feel held. You will feel like you're a little baby being held and comforted again. And it is undeniable. If you can shut out everything else and you just let yourself sit there for a while, you feel it. You feel your energy connect. And the offering thing, I love that you mentioned that because if you also sit there long enough, you feel yourself like being like pulled to do certain things. Like you feel pulled towards maybe setting a feather that you found over here under a tree and you just like feel gratitude for some reason. It just trust your instincts like that. And then you recognize there's meaning behind it all, that this has been happening, that people have been doing this. You just weren't taught it. A lot of us weren't passed down those kinds of things. There was something else that you said that really sparked something and now it's gone. It's out of my brain.
It'll come back.
Was it about the
It'll come back.
was it about like the embodiment and like you're a part of a larger body, like connected to that?
I mean, we definitely are. That is undeniable. That is
Because
undeniable.
well, it's one of those things. It's so cool. Like Christine just teaches about this so well because a lot of times too, because obviously men and women have been completely disconnected from their bodies. And so
Yes.
there's kind of like a trend within the spiritual communities that embodiment is like being in your body, body work, being sensual, which is all
Part
true.
of it. Hmm.
But it's like, and it's like, but you're still creating separation because you're like, this is my body. This is where I begin. This is where I end, being in me. And it's like, no, there's a larger body. We're all a part of this cosmic web. Like there's a
Hmm.
reason why these people who lived with the land would call, right? It's the mother. And it's like all the
Hmm.
animals and the plants. It's like they're brothers and sisters, right? It's
Yes.
like we all are parts of this creation, you know. And it's interesting because the mindset that we grew up in was very like all this was creation. We are like the stewards of it. It was
Hmm.
created for us, you know.
Hmm.
And it's funny because we were watching Avatar last night, the second
So
one,
good.
and where they go into the water. And I'm
Hmm.
just like, you know what? I'm like, how egocentric that we are like, everything was made for us. And I'm like, everything was not made for us. If you jump into the ocean, you're going to die. I'm like, that's the clearest evidence that not everything was made for human beings, right? That it's like we're a part of this creation, but it isn't all for us. And I think like that's one of the most interesting things where people are waking up to the horrors that are going on the planet to other human beings, right? Which it's like
Yeah.
that is like top tier. We need to stop hurting one another.
Hmm.
But then the next step is for people to realize where it's like, you think these genocides are horrible. And it's like, guess what? There are so many going on in our own backyard to all these creatures and
Oh
plants
yeah.
that we just do not care about, where we're just
Hmm.
like, doesn't
We
impact.
just take.
We take the
Mhm.
oil, we
Hmm.
literally pull the blood out of the mother that is giving
Hmm.
us everything. And we're just like, this is all going to end well. And it's like,
Hmm.
how? How do we do this? But it's really cool what you were saying. It made me think of one thing, and then I need to be quiet. But there was a video that Christine showed me of this like indigenous community. I believe it was like in South America somewhere. And it's so cool because what they would teach their children, it's like this, it was this little girl was having this massive, like lots of rage and sadness and anger. And the video is just teaching how they like teach their children to like give it to the mother. And she was like on the ground and like experiencing those emotions and like connecting with the mother earth. And I feel like that's another thing going to what you were saying, where it's like you're never alone,
Mhm.
even if you don't have human connection. It's like go be with the mother. It's like you
Mhm.
can take, like, if it is hard to feel
Mhm.
and there's a lot to feel, it's like she will share that burden with you.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, you can go sit and be held and like
Mhm.
give it to her, because you don't have to hold on to it. You don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, and she takes that energy and she creates something out of it. She supports you in creating something out of it, something beautiful. It becomes like fertilizer for your growth, right?
Wow.
Not just giving her something that
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
like,
that
take
way,
this.
like
Yeah,
here.
yeah, I can't handle it. Yeah.
It's this beautiful, again, in this relational.
Transmutation. Like,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, beautiful.
Wow.
Mhm. I truly believe that Indigenous voices need to be centered right now because they're the ones that have that wisdom closest to them. It hasn't been completely stripped from their culture, from their stories that they've passed down from generation to generation. I mean, I had to go out and try and find it for myself. It wasn't, and because even if I asked, they didn't know. All I was told was pray about it and read it in the Bible. And that's not even my lineage. Like that's name one white man in the Bible. I mean,
Yeah,
seriously.
yeah.
So
True.
it does, there's once you start to have that like cognition of like what we're reading and nothing computes and things start to break down and then we go seeking for this wisdom that like our soul really wants. And so if we can center Indigenous voices, the cultures that I can't even get into it. It's so awful to see what's going on in the
Yeah,
world, in the United States, in and recognizing how the land is just being desecrated over and over and over again. We read of these things in history, but you don't realize it's literally happening right now. We're watching it. Turn on social media and don't look away because this is the first time we're able to actually watch it
exactly. As
happening.
it's happening. As it's happening. It's like, guys, in the past they had the excuse where it's like we didn't know it was that bad. We didn't know it was,
Now we know.
and it's like, guys, we know.
We are
Yeah.
We're seeing it.
literally happening in
Yes.
neighborhoods
Yeah.
around
Hmm.
the corner.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's at
Yes.
the same time.
No, it really is. I think what you were saying about turning to like these indigenous wisdom. We are
Hmm.
living in the time of prophecy. For
Hmm.
everybody listening, time is not linear. Okay. Like the book is already written, we experience it page by page. You could have incarnated in the year 69, you could have incarnated in the year 50,000. There's a reason why you incarnated right now to have this experience. Okay. And so, number one, there's a lot of very, very powerful souls who incarnated in this plane at this time who are playing this game right now where it's like, well, am I good enough? Who am I? Whatever. It's like, no, you're plenty good enough. You're a rock star. Like, it's time to tap in.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm here for a reason.
yeah, and it's like
Hmm.
we're living in this convergence of prophecy. There's the seventh generation prophecy that the natives of North and South America have, where they have all said 7 generations of living with the white colonizers. That seventh generation will be when people turn back to native wisdom and they will help us return to living in connection with the earth.
Mhm.
Like it is a massive prophecy. This is the seventh generation right now. So when we
Wow.
hear that, what we can also do is understand, well, we don't need to wait for them to search us out. It's like, where can we find those voices? Where
Yes.
can we go find them? Like a huge piece in my spiritual awakening was it was the Lakota tribe and the Hopi who had a massive, but it was not reading. And this is what I want to say. The issue that we have, because we still like, I'm not saying this to like attack anyone because it's just like, it's just calling it as it is. Like colonizers gonna colonize, okay? Because it's like that energy is still there. And but sometimes we like create these like excuses of like why it's not colonization. And I the reason what I'm trying to say is when we say turn to indigenous wisdom, we are not saying turn to the wisdom because there are a lot of people who have seen the power in indigenous wisdom. And then they have taken it and they have rebranded it and they have
Hmm.
packaged it and they have built a product around it. And
Yeah.
like this happened to like the Mayan astrology and like cosmology tables. There's a lot of like new agey people that took them and they channeled new messages. And here's what the higher wisdom is. And it's like, that's totally fun. Whatever. It's not rooted in wisdom. It's not actually connected to any source of power. And so it's just like this mirage.
Mhm.
So much native wisdom has been plagiarized, has been changed to fit specific narratives, to fit something that is palatable, that is sellable. And a lot of that exists within like the spiritual community. There's a
Mhm.
lot of things that say they're rooted in some of this indigenous wisdom. And really what it is it's like a complete, distortion where people have taken the medicine and have built, brands around it or systems around it, but they lack reciprocity. They lack, connecting to the roots that are the power. And if you sever anything from the roots, it's not connected to its power source, right? Like it's not substantial. It's not going to work. And so,
I think we can see through it now. If you're not centering an indigenous person who it has a lineage from there, then there's probably a
totally.
disconnect there,
Oh,
right?
totally. It's
Mhm.
just it's one of those things where it's like this wisdom, and we're all indigenous to somewhere, which is
To
why it's so
somewhere.
important to
Yeah.
connect to your roots. Because I think a lot of times too, when people think indigenous, they're immediately like Native Americans. And it's like that is true. They are indigenous
Yes.
here.
Mhm.
And
To
Chris
hear.
always says, it's like it is very important to connect to the wisdom of the land that you are on. Like it is
Mhm.
very important to like connect where it's like
Mhm.
there's many different ways. So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's almost like a paradox where it's like you need to connect to the wisdom of your ancestry, and you need to like pull that in, but then you also need to learn about who were the people that lived on the land that you lived on. How did they live?
Oh,
Because
so
they've
good.
lived there.
Mhm.
They know the
What
land. They know the
spirituality of the land as well. Just like
Yes.
foods are going to be the most nourishing for our bodies, so too is the
Yes.
spirituality of the lands that you live upon, that you were born on, right?
Mhm.
So connecting with the indigenous practices here, the spiritual traditions and practices is going to be like the most potent for us at this time. So it's like yes, and right.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things, if I can just put it out there, if you want to connect with indigenous practices, if you want to connect with that medicine, one of the most expansive and powerful things you can do is stand up for their children right now who are being
Mhm.
called illegal and deported from this land. It's like
Exactly.
if you want to
That.
really connect with the medicine and the energy of this plane, you can respect the people that were here long before, because the blood of their ancestors, the bone, the mana, that power,
Mhm.
it is in the earth here. And I swear to you, like anyone listening to this, the mother is hearing their cries, and it is not going to reflect well on all of us if we keep allowing all of this to happen. It is
So
time
true.
to stand up for our brothers and sisters,
Mhm.
regardless of what our skin looks like. Like,
Mhm.
to anyone that's thinking, I totally understand where it's like they should have come here legally. Here's what the rules are. Like, these are all great excuses to buy.
What's legally mean
And
even?
like, yeah, but it's like it solves like the cognitive dissonance of
Yeah.
like, this isn't okay, but like it is, because here's what the rule says. What I would like to say is we all recognize intuitively in our hearts what is right and what is wrong. And it is very clear to see a lot of things that are happening right now that are wrong. It is not
Mhm.
these people that are broken, it is a system that is broken. And we, at any point in time, as the people, I look at like what America stands for, and I would actually argue we have never embodied those American values, but we
Mhm.
are the generation to do it. We are the generation to build a land where everyone is included, where we take care of one another, where we live with the earth. Look at how resourceful we are. Like, we need to stop letting politicians brand what it means to be Americans. And we need to remember, all of us in our beating hearts, like, we are America, or wherever you're from. People are listening from all over the world. Like, you are not defined to a box. You get to define who you are, right? And we need to
Mhm.
stand up for our brothers and sisters, and we need to make sure that we live in reciprocity with the
Mhm.
land, with one another, with all of creation,
Mhm.
because there's not a single one of us that deserves more than another. And anyone
Mhm.
that has that luxury of like not having to stress about what's going on, being able to reject it, please recognize that's also privilege. And you
Yes.
don't need to feel bad about having privilege. This isn't about feeling guilty. It's just about recognizing the privilege you have
Mhm.
and then being like, so how can I use these gifts and these talents and whatever that's been given to me to make sure that other people can be brought up into the same level?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And I think for a long time, privilege can sound like somebody saying, like, oh, you had it so great. Your life was so easy. That's not what anybody is saying. Privilege isn't, oh, you had it so easy. It just means that the color of your skin or your ethnicity was not what made it hard. And
Yeah.
that is a really big thing that we all need to recognize, especially the people that look like us. And just going back to even what you mentioned about the Lakota tribes, and even before I learned of that history. Me and my family did a road trip through South Dakota a couple of years ago, and we went and visited the Crazy Horse
Yes.
Monument. I cried there like so many times, especially when because they share there.
Mm,
That the whole story of the way it's being built, why it's being built, how it's being built is so honorable. And then after we went there, we went to Mount Rushmore, and I could feel the difference. It
yeah.
was just like flat, no spirit, nothing. And
Yeah.
then you look up at those faces and you're like, oh my God, like get the white old man out of office, please.
Yeah.
Because this is still, it's when you hear about what actually happened, why that's there, and you hear from the voices of the people who are at Crazy Horse and what they're doing, they're also spreading that information and showing us and trying to tell us like what is still going on.
Yeah.
And then can you actually walk out of there and be like, okay,
Yeah.
we we just saw something really cool, guys. Now let's go to Mount Rushmore. What the hell is going on? Like it was one of those moments for me, like what's happening?
Yeah.
Because you can feel the difference in how they even present the stories. It's just like two different worlds. Wow. And we're in the same Black Hills? What?
Well, and I think a lot of people when we approach conversations like this, like I have noticed online, anytime I'm critical, people are like, that's just self-hatred. You hate your white skin, you're liberal. And it's like, why are you putting me into this box? Like, it's like, I actually don't like any of these. Like, I think they're all part of the same system. But it's important to realize that you can be critical of history, you can be critical of systems, you can even be critical of your own race
Hmm.
without it being self-hatred. It
Hmm.
is just walking with awareness. It is
Yes.
realizing how things have been, how they've operated. Like one of the biggest things for me that has just been the most massive awakening is I think like with the Lakota, it's like the US government signed over like 50 plus treaties with them. The Lakota never broke one, and the
Hmm.
United States broke every single one. And it's
Yep.
like, okay, guys, you can see how they did that with these tribes.
Hmm.
And yet we look at our politicians and it's like, why do they lie to us? Why do they not keep promises? And it's like, because the system doesn't change.
Yeah.
The system is the system. And it's like, so let's look at the history
Hmm.
and then realize the same thing they did to them, they're doing to you. They're
Yeah.
doing it to you. It's no different, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like when we can look at it honestly and truthfully, it's not about self-hatred. It's just about like what has worked, what hasn't worked, how do we make something better? You look at technology, and every year they're trying to make it better. And somehow we think that we nailed our government however many years ago and we just got it right. And it's like, we don't iterate, we don't need to make it better. Like we nailed it. And it's like, no, let's see what's working, let's see what's not, and
Clearly.
let's build something better. At
Yeah.
any point in time, we can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's undeniable that the government is not out for us. Like they're not trying to actually help us. They're trying to keep the systems going the way that it was, absolutely.
It's
And it goes right back to what you
wait,
were saying in the beginning about discernment. When you can bring the authority back in and into inside of you, you can feel when things are off and wrong. You can see it. You can feel it in even when news reporters are reporting on a story, they bring so much emotion. It's so theatrical, but
Mhm.
you can see the illusion. You can see right through it. You're
Yeah.
like, you almost have to laugh and think like, wow, people are buying this still.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what age of Aquarius, though. People always say we're in the age of Aquarius, all illusion's going to fall away. And it's like, how does illusion fall away? When discernment rises.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like that's how it
The
falls.
work, we have to do the work. Yeah.
It's not some magical thing where all of a sudden everything's exposed and we're like, and we get told the truth. No, you learn how to intuitively tap into that truth
Mhm.
where now you see these things and you just immediately, even before you can logically put something to it, it's like you get that ping where it's like, this isn't right. You know, this is
Mhm.
misaligned. And that's the truth, right? That's when you self source, when going back to Jesus, when he talks
Mhm.
about the bread you eat and never hunger and the water you drink and never thirst. Part of that is discernment, where you self source in that well. And
Yeah.
you're not looking for anything outside of you. You can immediately tap into the truth. You feel either that harmony or discordance, right? And so
Yeah.
that is one of the reasons why there's so much chaos going on right now, is the chaos is serving the rising of people's discernment.
It is. It is.
It's serving us. It's here for a reason. Sorry, I'm lighting that.
Yeah.
Right. But the key is discernment does not come, you do not get spiritual gifts by sitting and waiting for them.
Mhm.
The way that I like visualize this is um, it's like you have to hold the energies of becoming and being at the same time. Because the thing is,
Ooh,
you as
yeah.
you are right now, as you're being, perfect. You're perfect. You don't need to become anything. You don't need to learn more. You are exactly who you need to be right now, and you can sit in that energy. When you do that, you will unlock the energy of becoming. Once you
So
stop trying to
true.
become, you will start becoming. And the way I think of it is it's almost like this river, that you are in the river, but you're consciously connected to the river as well. And so when you hold the energy of something you would like to become, the river is automatically going to divert and create the perfect path for you to become that. But you just get to be, you just get to sit in the river and the current will take you, right? But the key is there's movement. There's movement as you move through your experiences, as you see, what is this teaching me? What is this showing me? What can I learn from this? That is what unlocks the becoming, right? Because if
Mhm.
you're just sitting acting like you know everything, if you just bypass, if you just ignore everything that triggers you and only sit with everything that makes you safe, you can play a game that is like the illusion of movement. And it's like, but you're just repeating patterns. You're just repeating patterns. You're in a holding pattern. And so the key is the more you move, as you step with it, it's like the power comes in, the gifts come in, like that. The ancestors back you up. But
Mhm.
you have to move. You have to create the space for all of that to come in. And that's where it's like, it's one thing to like have the knowledge, but what true embodiment is when these things sink into the body, you understand them at a cellular level, and then your actions start showing what you know, right? You start, it's one thing to say, there's nothing to fear. It's one thing to say, I'm divinely protected, right? And everything happens for a reason. It's another thing to realize that if there's nothing to fear, I can start speaking up more fearlessly. I can
Yes.
putting myself out there and really pushing things to move. And so the movement is key.
Absolutely. I feel like that's been a huge piece of this year, honestly, is moving into actually action driven work rather than sitting in the same
Yeah.
space. Somehow we ended up there for a long time, I feel like, but this year has really brought forth this urgency, this feeling of, oh shit, like this is happening right now. Like it's time to do something about it. And we've been gathering tools along the way and figuring out how to hold ourselves in the tools and how to process emotions, transmute and heal. And now we can hold space. I really believe that the world is going to change. We're in the process of it. We have to stay strong and keep holding on to hope and knowing that it's not going to go backwards. What's happening is just a lot of disillusionment. We're
Mm,
just now able to see what's always been going on. So it's not like we're moving backwards.
Mhm.
We're joining the river.
exactly. Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
love to hear from you and like what practices support you in that. You spoke to some of the practices, like yeah, sharing some of the tools that have supported you and your practice.
I have to talk to process emotions, like talking about it with somebody, connecting with somebody about it. Yeah, like having somebody to talk to has truly been my way to process things because I even sometimes answer my own questions as I'm talking out loud. Even if I'm talking to the wind, if I'm talking to the tree, if I'm talking to my dog, it doesn't have to be another human being, even. I feel like just even communicating how I'm feeling, no matter how unperfect it sounds,
Mhm.
like don't try to perform anything, like just say how you feel.
Yeah.
Something moves. I also love to sing and dance and just move my body because that's moving the energy. It's also helping to like calm your nervous system, remind your nervous system you're safe, everything's okay. Um, Definitely get out into nature, shut the noise off. Because that's where you're going to find your center is outside in nature without all the noise. That's when you can gather your strength, be held in and fall apart as much as you need to so that you can be like, okay, we got this. We can keep going.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What are your practices?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's similar nature. Dancing is like the biggest one. Yeah, movement coming into the body. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really the speaking's the big one for me. Like I think uh we were on like a walk once, and I just think it's so amazing when you look at nature with awareness. It's just there's scripture everywhere, and it teaches you,
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
like you can look at how water that's moving is healthy and it's clean, and
Yeah.
you drink it, and water that's stagnant becomes disease ridden, right? Like it
Mhm.
pools, it
See
gets
it.
like gross, it's smelly, it gets mosquitoes. And the thing is, it's like it's the same thing with energy with us, and it's funny because a lot of times I'll get trapped in the head and I'll
Hmm.
feel the energy build up, and it will just start going, like it creates these like storms and everything. But what I've noticed is it's like if I can just speak to what I'm feeling, what's in, not even like with a desired outcome. It's just like, what am I
It
stressed
moves
over?
it.
What can I get out? What you're doing is you're moving that energy. You're creating moving water versus stilled water, right?
Mm.
And everything will go back to being healthy. It'll go back to being healthy. And so that's why these practices, when people talk about them, um, it's like it's not just about like having a practice to bring you back down to baseline. I think like sometimes people think that spirituality is very like, I never feel emotion. I'm always grounded and centered. And I speak like this because I know. And it's like, no, that's not spirituality. Spirituality is like, honestly, there's a lot of women who need to tap into their feminine rage. Like that is
Yes.
from your ancestors. And it's like, tap into that,
Yeah.
like tap into it. But people are so afraid. They're like, no, I have to suppress it because it's not spiritual. And it's like, no, it is spiritual in a healthy way. Don't let it consume you. Don't get like succumb to it. But
We need to have a rage ritual. This is something
yeah,
I like walk people through, and I need to do like a we need to do a virtual one.
Absolutely do it. I want to come.
that's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well,
That
anything.
is another thing I love to do is I actually have a playlist that's all for rage.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
just I mean Alanis Morissette and like even I have so even just the sound some of the sound ones where it's just like intense drums. Like
Yeah.
just stomp your feet. I mean there's a reason for that. It is wisdom of the body. It's healing. It really is. It helps move the energy.
Yeah. I always include rock music when I do the rage ritual. It's like huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, head banging.
There was like one time where she was like doing a rage ritual. I think it was connected to my car or something. It started playing, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is this song?" I'm like, "This is scary." And she's like, "I'm doing a rage ritual." She's like, "Don't pay attention. It's fine." But yeah,
So
I'm like, "Oh
important.
no!"
It's
I'm
so
like, "Are you
good.
raging at me? Did I?" Yeah,
Sometimes.
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I really, really appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything else, anything important that you have to say, or
Mhm.
more importantly, do you have like any offerings or anything that we can point people to? Like what do you provide, like the medicine? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. First of all, thank you so much for asking me to be a part of this. This has been really an honor, and great conversation. I love this. Um, I have, so most of what I do is on Instagram. I share a lot of content on there. I just opened a Patreon, just this last month because Instagram shut me down for a couple days.
Oh,
Yeah, like the censorship thing. So that scared me. It's like, can't, you realize that, like, okay, I can't keep putting my life's work on a platform that can just like silence you overnight like that. So I'm on Patreon. So I do have extra stuff coming out there. I have a website, crystaldawnalchemy.com. There's content there. I have 13 Sacred Rites Mystery School, which is essentially walking through my own experiences and the wisdom that I have gained in my process of gaining spiritual sovereignty and becoming more embodied as the person that I am. That's under that. I'm revamping that though. So 2.0 will be coming out at some point. I'm also writing a book, so keep out on the lookout for that. I've been appearing on some podcasts. It's everywhere. So I mean, honestly, Patreon is probably going to be the closest you'll find to like extra content
Very
right
cool.
now. Still just creating,
Yeah.
continuing to go forth. I've had a lot of changes this year, so a lot of it is grassroots right now.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to just hear or have you share just what do you feel right now with what's happening in the world? Just something to leave them with to yeah, just to share with everyone who's listening.
I feel like what's going on in the world, like I said, it's not new. I think that we're being shown it, and we need to be grateful for the fact that we have social media right now because it has decentralized the messaging.
Mhm.
And so right then and there, we all of a sudden have this ability to share our story. And there's so much power in one person's story, no matter how irrelevant you may think it is. The most liberating feeling is when you can share your story and have somebody else relate to it because you gain that connection. Then you realize that you're connected, and just share your story, talk about it. It matters. You matter. And the more you can connect with people and resonate on that same level of just being human, the more you can fall in love with humanity in general, and that will naturally bring out your voice and the power that it has in the times that we're in right now, because it does matter. Bringing awareness, I think, is the most important piece of this, is growing awareness around this, helping like create at least a space that when people wake up, they can find the information and sense the truth in it. But coming together, I think, is what's happening, and you can feel it. And there's another bald eagle flying over at
Oh,
the same time.
perfect. Yeah.
I think the message that you two are putting out there, even just with this gathering, this message and what it's for, I think that's what this is all about.
Mhm.
We really appreciate that. Thank you for saying you too. This is all Christine's work. She's been doing
Thank you,
this.
Christine.
Yeah, she is the one that is kind of like bringing it all together, just trying to bring people together. And so,
Yeah, that part about stories. Our stories are so important, and we need to share our stories and also hear each other's stories so
Mhm.
that we can, yeah, see ourselves reflected and put ourselves also in each other's shoes and build
Yes,
bonds and connections. And so we can really have compassion and love for each other. So that's what it's all about.
well, and
absolutely.
I think the really cool thing too with seeing each other's stories is yeah, to everyone listening, like you read about some of these ancient speakers, right? You got like Rumi, you know, Jesus, and like all these different like teachers who come who are like so wise. And the most amazing thing is there's no difference between that and Christine or
Hmm.
Crystal. And the
Hmm.
real, and this is why it's like you never put anyone on a pedestal because you don't want to
Yeah.
subconsciously create separation. Because if you
Yes.
put someone on a pedestal, it's like you're collapsing yourself, and it's like anything you witness in someone,
Mm.
their divinity, their wisdom, anything where you're like, wow, they get it, you're just witnessing yourself. That is all you're doing. And what's really cool is the more that you express and honor that, the more you're going to realize there is nothing special about these people that you're following on social media, that
Yes.
all of us are
Yeah.
connected to that same truth. And it's not about, trying to be Jesus. It's not about trying to be Buddha. It's not trying to be whoever. It is, who Crystal is, you express as her to the fullest extent. You
Yeah.
are Christine. express the fullest extent. And it's like, that is what you're here to do. Like, it is a self-sorting puzzle. You just need to express and be your puzzle piece. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yes.
That's all it is. And it is equal parts terrifying and like, how do I do that? When you're starting out. But then it's also like you can just surrender and like let go, where it's like, oh, I only need to be me. And it's like, cool. So what can I handle? What can I do? How do I do this in a balanced way? Right? There's no measuring stick. It's just you being you. And anyone, I just love that you keep talking about falling in love with humanity, because it's one of those things where it's like reality is a mirror and a reflection. And if there's things that we notice outside of us that we don't totally love, that we don't accept or whatever, all it's showing to you is that there's pieces inside of you that you still fragment, that you say, this is good, this is bad, I accept this, I reject this. And the more that you enter into that perfect self-love for who you are, this non-judgment, you will see it reflected out of you. You'll start being able to hold space for everything and being like, okay, how do we move and make this better? But also like, how beautiful is this? And how much magic is there? And like, wow, you can literally be in the energy and not consumed by it, right? And just shine your light and try to help others do the same. And so thank you for doing that. You are such a great example.
Thank
I was going to ask
you.
you, what's your birthday?
9/5/86, September 5th,
You need to like
1986.
look it up. She's going to look it up. Thank you for hopping on. I'm going to end the recording, but hold on for a second. Yeah.